the stories from the weekend, and we appreciate you watching and downloading the podcast, The Craig Carton Show. Have a blessed weekend. Peace out.
Well, the best part about it is that they're just going about handling their business. I was listening to Arvell Reese, and his literally like 5-word sentences about himself and some of the things that Caleb has been talking about. The dudes are just so locked in here about just doing their job and not worrying about all the other things and awards. They know all those happen when you go win and you win decisively.
The Bobby Carpenter Show, only on SportsGrid.
Baker Mayfield is the most important player on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they are in first place right now, looking dead in the eye of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They played a bad division. They're going to win a lot of games, and they're the best fourth quarter team, or at least the 2-minute warning team in all football. So, don't sleep on that.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Awesome and monumentous win against Oregon. Texas has saved their season. Texas has given themselves life to potentially crash the college football playoff party. For OU, a loss to Texas shouldn't be the end of your season. And yet with that remaining schedule, it feels like it could be. Books certainly pricing it that way. A lot of movement off of the Red River rivalry.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Paige or Caitlin? Who do you take and why?
I think for the WNBA, in a sense where they're moving toward more guards when it's been very post and big heavy in the past. But there's a reason why Caitlin Clark set all those records at college and then went into the WNBA and set all those records immediately. I really do think she's just a different level talent.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Apple signs big $700 million F1 deal. Plus, can anyone catch the Thunder in the Western Conference this year? Hi, everyone, and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from FOS Studios here in New York City. I'm Baker Machado.
And I'm Renee Washington. And thanks so much for joining us as we close out the week, because each and every weekday we're chatting the biggest stories in the business and culture of sports. We also have former Alabama running back Damian Harris on later to chat the big Alabama-Tennessee game this weekend. But first, let's dive into the headlines in the shooting range.
And perfect way to start with college football news, Renee, where number 3 ranked Indiana has now locked up their coach Kirk Cignetti to a new 8-year contract. This will make him one of the highest paid college coaches in the country, with an average salary of $11.6 million per year. Now, Cignetti said in a social media video, quote, "I couldn't be more proud to be a Hoosier, and I plan on retiring as a Hoosier." The Big Ten and National Coach of the Year's buyout now climbs to $15 million, that according to ESPN's Pete Thamel. And if Indiana fires him during his new deal, Renee, $93 million of that becomes fully guaranteed.
Kurt Cignetti is not going anywhere.
Nope.
And I wonder if the timing is just a coincidence that this happened right after we've heard all the rumors about him potentially exploring, or being, I should say, a front runner to replace James Franklin over at Penn State. But as you mentioned, for Cignetti and for Indiana, they're 6-0. They're potentially able to go undefeated the rest of the season. They're a team that's a national champion contender. They have a Heisman favorite in Fernando Mendoza at quarterback, the transfer. But also, they were 3-9 when he came in 2023 after leaving James Madison. And what he's done in such a short time, this deal makes complete sense to lock him in. He wants to be there. They want him to be there. And for the school to get this deal done and make him the 3rd highest paid behind Georgia's Kirby Smart and also Ohio State's Ryan Day, it makes sense to me. When you have the top program, the top coach deserves to get paid top dollars.
Which is so interesting because we always knew Indiana was a basketball school, but they had never won 10 games until Cignetti got there.
Cignetti.
Yes, it's all about him. Well, former Golden State Warriors GM Bob Myers is leaving ESPN. This for an executive role with Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment. This will see Myers oversee a portfolio that will include the Philadelphia 76ers, the New Jersey Devils, English soccer club Crystal Palace, and even NASCAR team Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, Myers will also continue to work with Josh Harris, who's the owner of the Washington Commanders as well. Bob Myers famously built the Warriors dynasty, winning 4 NBA titles, and he earned multiple NBA Executive of the Year awards as well.
And those 4 titles and the multiple times he was NBA exec for those 2 seasons with the Warriors are a big reason why his role has elevated with Harris, Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, because HBSC has mentioned they wanted to bring that championship pedigree and those winning ways to other aspects. As you mentioned, they've got such a large portfolio. He also mentioned himself wanting to get more involved in some other areas. He's been a sports agent for about 14 years. He's been with the Warriors for a dozen years. He's been a commentator and an analyst with ESPN.
He knows all the aspects.
He's done so many different things and checked so many boxes. This is like the next step of his career to be able to explore how he can work in this role as an executive and back in a sports management role. So I think it just allows him to bring all that experience and his pedigree of winning championships to now multiple sports across multiple teams. And I'm excited and kind of interested to see what it looks like for
and we've
him.
seen the success of what the Commanders have been as he's advised Josh Harris with them as well. Well, the Athletic says 2 weeks before Bill Belichick's debut as North Carolina's head coach, his general manager, Mike Lombardi, traveled to Saudi Arabia, to meet with high-ranking government officials, all to discuss potential partnership opportunities with the school. Now, while we don't know the full details of Lombardi's visit and if any follow-up visits were scheduled, the Athletic says the trip did not result in any agreement or support of Belichick's program for the moment, but there have been other schools, Colorado, mine also, that have also dabbled with the Saudis as well.
Well, much like Indiana's trying to make and has been growing their football program, UNC's actively doing everything they can to try to grow their football program. It's just wild to me that as we're heading into week 8 of the college football schedule, we're now finding out about a trip that happened 2 weeks prior to the opening week. So for UNC to come out and say this was an exploratory fundraising trip, it was on behalf of the football program specifically, because they actually mentioned how, although we don't know who they met with, those officials, those high-ranking government officials, are fans of Bill Belichick, fans of Michael Jordan, fans of UNC football, and wanted to support and talk about it. So we don't know where things stand now currently, because we haven't heard if there was a follow-up or any other conversations after that trip, but it just makes you wonder, to your point, with Saudi and specifically, how much are they going to continue investing in sports, and are we going to see them getting more involved in college sports through conversations like this?
Very good point. Well, after months of rumors, Apple TV is officially taking over rights to F1 races. This on a reported deal worth $140 million annually, or $700 million over the 5 years of the contract. This marks a significant increase from the $80 million per year that ESPN had been paying. So now with F1 and MLS, Apple isn't continuing to invest in sports rights. So let's dive into this in our main event. All right, let's bring in FOS reporter David Rumsey. So David, what do we know about this Apple F1 deal?
Baker, this is Apple's next big sports deal for the MLS deal that they're in year 3 of now, and they're taking over U.S. rights of Formula One from ESPN, who's had those rights since 2018.
And Dave, we've seen sports start to move their programming, their games, their broadcasts to Apple. We've seen it in the MLS. We've seen it with Major League Baseball. What led to F1 making the transition from ESPN?
Great question, Renee, and certainly money is playing a factor here. You know, ESPN was paying somewhere between 80 and 90 million a year for those F1 rights here in the U.S., and now moving forward, Apple is going to be paying at least 140 million, according to some reports, maybe as high as $160 million a year. So over that 5-year deal, that's going to be well more than $700 million.
We know Apple, obviously, as Renee mentioned, has the MLS streaming rights here, but there has been some criticism about that deal, given the fact that MLS now has all of their rights behind a paywall. Do you feel like there will be similar criticism for this here?
Yeah, so F1 has seen very good viewership in the U.S. on ESPN, on ABC, you know, that strong linear cable broadcast network TV coverage. That's going to be going away on this Apple deal, right? But, you know, Apple will have some races probably in front of that Apple TV paywall, but for the majority of those races, you will have to have an Apple TV subscription, which costs, what, $13 a month now.
And we saw 4 F1 races through the month of September, averaging about 1.4 million viewers across their platforms of ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, a massive jump from previous numbers. So is F1 in the right position now that it's time to roll out this Apple TV deal, or was it more just the money made sense versus needing to expand it and have a more international or even a different reach, I should say, through Apple?
Well, it's always hard to turn down more money, right? But I was on a press call with Apple's sports czar Eddie Q yesterday, and also Formula One CEO Stefano Domenicali. And the sense I got from them, at least on the F1 side, was that they are ready to move into the future. They're confident that the Formula One fans are going to follow them to Apple TV, but time will tell whether that actually happens.
Now, MLS, F1, we know Apple right now this season had Major League Baseball rights. It doesn't look like they're going to get it next year. What does this sort of tell us about Apple's sports strategy here, that they're basically going to be in contention for a lot of these rights?
Yeah, they certainly are becoming more interested in more sports. You're right, Baker. But what's interesting to me is that they made this deal, and it's only for Formula One's U.S. rights. If you look at that MLB deal, they really touted, Apple did, that it was global, every country. They can do it from the U.S. to Canada to Europe to Australia, everywhere. So I'm going to be interested to see if Apple tries to get more Formula One rights outside of the U.S. when those deals internationally come up.
And for those that are unsure, what does Apple TV bring in terms of capabilities, access that maybe others do not?
Well, it is a lot of technology that they can pull together, whether it's not just the race broadcasts themselves, but all kinds of data and AI on Apple TV. And certainly we've seen some other streamers, whether it's Amazon with the NFL and now NBA, doing things like that as well. So I think there is an advantage to kind of pulling everything together in a streamer like Apple TV, but certainly the exposure is the trade-off there.
Also, how much does the success of the film have to do with the fact that Apple wanted to pay for this? So it's almost like Apple owns the rights to all of this stuff regarding Formula One.
Right, highest grossing sports film of all time now. F1, the movie that came out earlier this year, we'll see over $600 million at the box office. So that was certainly an indicator that this deal was going to happen. We had been hearing about it all summer. Now they finally announced it today ahead of the U.S. Grand Prix in Austin.
And it just feels like this is the time for every league, every sport to try to capitalize on new media deals and broadcast rights. And the numbers just keep getting higher.
If there's
and higher.
something available, somebody's going to spend a ton of money for it. David Rumsey, FOS reporter. Good stuff as always, David. Thank you so much. One of the big college football games this weekend is Tennessee versus Alabama. We're getting a preview of that next.
Let's do A.J. Brown. He's seems to be kind of upset with the way things are going. The Eagles will trade A.J. Brown at some point this season, buy or sell.
This is what really annoys fans about certain players. Don't you care about winning? All right, he played last year, won a Super Bowl, right? He's reading books, and he's blah, blah, blah. He's complaining this year, too. And he was complaining while they were winning. Yeah, of course they lost last night to the Giants there, but he had 6 catches, 80 yards. And then I think I heard him come out and say, I don't remember having an offensive meeting with Hurts and Barkley, even though it was reported that they did have a meeting. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but if they did have a meeting and he's saying he doesn't, what is going on here? Do you really want to be traded? I mean, grass isn't always greener. They're not going to trade you to a good team, right? You're certainly not going to Detroit, or San Francisco. They're not going to trade you to anybody in their own conference that's good, that could go compete with them. So just strange. Do I think he's going to be traded? No. They've come out and said he won't be traded, but that, who cares? That could just be to drive the price up if they really wanted to move him. So I'm going to sell this, but, if he really wants to be dealt, he can make life hard, keep complaining, keep doing this and that, embarrassing everybody, but really strange situation what's going on in Philadelphia. You won a Super Bowl, you'd think you'd be happy for a little bit.
I think that, I don't know, would they do this deal? I think Howie Roseman is not adverse to making deals, but George, wouldn't they have to acquire somebody like A.J. Brown to make this kind of trade? I'm going to say sell. I think he's going to stick it out with the team. I think they're going to move him in the offseason.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today. Well, let's talk some college football. As one of the top games this weekend is an SEC matchup between number 11 Tennessee and number 6 Alabama. That is, the Crimson Tide have stabilized their season that after their Week 1 loss to Florida State. So let's bring in Damian Harris, CBS Sports college football analyst and, of course, national champion over at Alabama. Damian, good to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. Before we talk about the game and a bunch of other things, let's first talk about your partnership that you got with Dr. Pepper and your former teammate at the Patriots, Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, no, listen, this is an incredible thing that Dr. Pepper is doing. I mean, when I think back to the SEC championships that I played in, I was always focused on who's doing the Dr. Pepper toss? Who's going to be out there? How many did they make? Can I do better than that? But again, when you think about a cold Dr. Pepper, Saturday college football, what goes better together than those two things? Absolutely nothing. You've got things like the Pepper Portal to where the fans can go to Ramajamas at Alabama, one of the more historic places in all of college, just college scenery. Then you've got Cool Beans in Knoxville. And what does that do? It gives the fans an opportunity to be face-to-face from hundreds of miles away, pouring out their passion, encouraging their team, showing their pride, showing their spirit. And then for guys like me, guys like Josh, we have the opportunity to go and share that passion and share that with the opposing fans and, be with our own crowd and just continue to support our own individual programs. But again, Dr. Pepper makes that all possible with all the things that they do. We've seen them give out those scholarship grants, all those people who win those Dr. Pepper tosses. So again, just throughout college football, at least in my time, I'm a younger guy.
Part of this massive rivalry you look at, as Baker mentioned, 6 versus 11, Alabama versus Tennessee, Alabama, each of their storylines coming into this weekend. And so many people locked into college football, and you get to be at the forefront of that in the Dr. Pepper partnership. What was your first reaction, and what are you also most looking forward to in terms of the football aspects of this Tennessee-Alabama matchup?
I'm going to have to disagree with Baker for a second because he said one of the big weekend. It is the biggest game.
Yes, okay.
There's only one game. This weekend is labeled the third Saturday in October. Listen, I will tell you all, Nick Saban used to tell us all the time, they will ask you two things when you leave, three things. Did you get your degree? How many national championships do you have? How many times did you beat the University of Tennessee? How many cigars did you smoke? Did you send the Tennessee fans out of Neyland Stadium in the second quarter and the third quarter, huh? Like, this is what this rivalry means. So it's incredibly important. When you look at the field, what do you expect to see? An Alabama team that from week 1 to where we are now has improved more than any other team in college football.
It's going to be a great game regardless. Obviously, we're still a few months from the college football playoff, but if you look at the top 10 right now, 5 of the top 10 teams in the country right now are in the SEC, but 2 of the top 3 teams right now are in the Big Ten. So as we look ahead to the college football playoff, which conference is better positioned to win the college football playoff? Is it the Big Ten or the SEC?
It's so even because when you look at the Big Ten, right, it's a bunch of really, really good teams. You've got your Ohio States, you've got Oregon, you've got Indiana right now, who could be the best team in the country. And guess what? They're all fighting it out. They're all duking it out, trying to get to the Big Ten championship and then try to get to the college football playoff. Well, the same thing applies in the SEC. Florida, Texas, I shouldn't have said Florida. Teams like Texas who want to make it to the college football playoff, guess what? They've got one of the tougher schedules in all of college football. Alabama, they've just beat 3 straight ranked conference opponents for the first time to open SEC play in Alabama history. They've got to play tough teams. So whether you're looking at the SEC, whether you're looking at the Big Ten, you're going to be looking at good football teams that play a good brand of disciplined style football that can score points and play good defense, but they all have to face each other. So they're all going to be battle tested. Whoever makes it out of the Big Ten championship, guess what? If they lose, they're going to be even hungrier going into the college football playoffs. Guess what? If Alabama loses in the SEC championship, obviously barring that they get there, they lose and they still make it to the college football playoffs, they're going to be pissed off because they just lost an opportunity to add another championship ring to their collection. So when I look at the Big Ten and the SEC, I know everybody loves to put them against each other and say, this conference is better, this conference is better. I can just appreciate great football being played. And those are the 2 standard-setting conferences in college football. When you want to see tough, disciplined football teams that know how to score points on offense and shut down opposing offenses on defense, and they have to play each other, and they have a rigorous schedule, those are the type of team. That's when the cream rises to the top.
When you look at the current state of college football compared to the past, we had the Alabamas, Georgias, the top dogs consistently year in and year out. This year, throw the preseason polls out the window because it's been so difficult week in and week out to truly know who's going to win. What makes college football so unpredictable currently?
NIL and transfer portal. It's very simple. How transactional college football is right now, the way that recruiting has changed. It's not about, the at-home visits where Nick Saban is sitting in your living room eating cookies with your family anymore. No, it's about who can pay the most, who can guarantee you the best. Who can guarantee you the best opportunities. Used to be to get to the National Football League, but now it's about who can get you the most financial security right now. And we've seen that. What did Ohio State do last year? They won a national championship, but what did they do to win that national championship? They spent more money than anybody else in college football history ever had legally to get the guys that they did, to retain the cornerstone pieces that were already there, keep them from jumping ship and transferring, hitting the portal. And guess what? They won a national championship. So that's the name of the game now. Who has the most funds? Who has the biggest collective? Who's got the biggest pot players get their hands in? Because, we used to think about in terms of you got to get to the NFL to get that life-changing money. That ain't the case no more. Bryce Underwood, he just got some life-changing money. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of other guys that I could sit here and name. Now, I ain't trying to get in their pockets. They have made money. So now the recipe for winning is different. The recipe for recruiting is different. The landscape of college football that we are experiencing is now different because the game is not predicated on the same morals, principles, and values that it once was. I'm not at all opposed with, seeing these kids get the benefits and reap the rewards of their hard work and their name, their image, their likeness. The only thing I will say, though, not just in terms of not having the dominant teams anymore, my biggest concern with today's landscape is, are we really setting these kids up for success in the future to be professionals?
Yeah, very big question with sort of the Wild West that we sort of live in right now. Damian Harris, CBS Sports college football analyst and, of course, former national champion over at Alabama. Thank you so much, Damian, for joining us.
Appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
All right, we got a lot more front office sports today. Headed your way, everyone, right after this quick break.
$20 million too much as far as I'm concerned, but it's not like you're indebted to him or you have to follow through with him. Like, what are we doing? Try to win the damn game by bringing in a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what the loyalty to Fields is here and why you thought he gave you the best shot at winning that game without going to the bench.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully these go better. I'm smashed before one on these games. I cannot believe that this game destroyed me. I can. Why did I get involved live? That's on me, not
That
you.
is on you.
All right.
That's on you.
You didn't have to run up the score. I said it was on me.
It was on you.
Right.
You just didn't see the writing on the wall. Knee it! Let's get out of Dodge!
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Can I get an ISO? Come on. Give me the ISO over here.
Give me the ISO. He wants the camera.
Look, I'm going to get nice and comfortable right now. I've been telling you people out there, yes, you people, about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. My connection to the Irish growing up as a kid. I hated that team. But they called me at the network the most unbiased man here, which means I'm giving you the information straight from the mouth here. You don't have to go anywhere. You get it from me.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
I think Kendre Miller's role continues to grow in this offense. So I think as you're looking at bye weeks continuing on and looking for running back depth, as always, we all know the dynamic can change in a minute, right? We've done this so many times in the last couple of weeks. We were adding Woody Marks before his game. We were adding Brashard Smith last week. I still want to add Brashard Smith this week. I want to add the guys that I think have upside for the second half, and Kendre Miller is definitely one of those backs.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, everyone, to Front Office Sports Today with Renee Washington. I'm Baker Machado, where the NBA tips off its newest season on Tuesday, with NBC getting some of the big games. So let's preview what we're thinking about what happened in the Western Conference, and let's bring in Front Office Sports reporter Colin Salau. So, Colin, obviously the Oklahoma City Thunder, as they should be, the favorites to win the title again this season. Have there been any teams that maybe have done stuff in the offseason that maybe could dethrone the Thunder this year?
Well, you're going to be happy to hear, but I think it's the Denver Nuggets, right? You know, I think when you have the best player in the NBA, you always have a chance. But that trade for Cam Johnson was massive for them, even cutting MPJ's money. But I think what you're also looking at is kind of the depth that they added. That's always kind of been their issue. They've been a team that has had like 6 or maybe 7 players that they could trust. Now they brought back Bruce Brown. They have Tim Hardaway Jr. Maybe their young guys start to hit. I don't know what the situation with Valanciunas is, but he is a player if he decides to play, or if he at least like plays and wants to play. So they're going to be a deep team this year, and I think that they are definitely the biggest threat to the Thunder. I would say the Rockets here as well, but of course Fred VanVleet got injured, and that the question mark at point guard is definitely going to affect them.
Well, Colin, I'm curious about, as we shift over to Cali with the Lakers, this is the first time ever in his NBA career that LeBron James will not be in the season opener for his respective team, as he's out with an injury. And, of course, we've heard the reports and rumors about whether that announcement for the campaign around Hennessy was going to be his opportunity to announce his retirement. It still has people wondering, when will LeBron James retire? Do you think that this start of the season, with him missing the season opener, is going to lead us into potentially the final season of LeBron James and honestly take over storylines around the NBA?
I think it's going to be a discussion, as it kind of has been for most years. But for him to do that I'm pretty sure there's something there. He's trying to start to tease. Part of me thinks he's not going to retire yet this year, but that's obviously just speculation. I think the big thing here, though, is that with him missing the start of the year and him already kind of teasing his retirement, it feels to me like a transition for the NBA into a start of a transition to the post-LeBron era, right? We have Victor Wembanyama entering his 3rd year. We have Cooper Flag coming in this year. These are new young stars. Obviously, not to take away from Luka, SGA, Jokic, who are in the league, but LeBron is the big star. What is the league going to look like after him? And the league is entering a new era this year, too, with the 11-year, $77 billion media rights deal. They're going to have new partners in NBC and Amazon. And if LeBron is not there on opening night, which is going to be on NBC, he's also not going to be there on Thursday, which is going to be on Prime Video for the first time. How does that represent the start of a new era for the NBA, considering LeBron is gone? And could this essentially be them, starting to really find their new stars, which has been a question for quite a while?
Colin, we know the Western Conference is really just a beast. I mean, only a few games separated the 3 seed to the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Who are some teams that maybe could be teams to watch this year that you have on your radar?
I think those 3 teams I mentioned earlier will definitely be there unless something happens to the Rockets, maybe another injury or so. I'm really curious about what happens with the Mavs. Anthony Davis has played 70-plus games like once since like 2018, but he is a really good player. And if he does play and Kyrie comes back, late in the year, and Cooper Flag is out there playing point guard and doing something crazy for them as the number 1 pick, maybe they are a top 4 seed or top 6 seed, early in the year. But if AD goes down, it doesn't look that way. I think the question mark is there. And similarly, back in Texas as well with San Antonio, will Wemby finally play a lot of games this year? And is Dylan Harper ready? Is De'Aaron Fox ready? We'll see. I think those Texas teams, all 3 of them, are going to be worth watching.
So much to keep an eye on in the West.
Absolutely. Very exciting. That NBA season is here, though. We're excited about it. Colin Salau, our FOS reporter. Thank you, Colin. And let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. Well, Renee, not even 2 weeks ago, Joe Flacco was benched as the starting quarterback with the Browns. But after a trade to the Bengals just 9 days ago, The 40-year-old tasted sweet, sweet victory in a come-from-behind win over Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers on Thursday night. Flacco even told reporters afterward that the win was, quote, pretty special. And you saw Bengals fans even chanting, "Thank you, Cleveland," after the win. All the memes on this were amazing.
The NFL script just continues to get juicier because when we saw that trade happen for Joe Flacco and a 6th-round pick, a 5th-round pick being exchanged back, that was the first time we've seen a trade ever in the NFL era between the Browns and the Bengals. They've tried one before, but it didn't go through. So it's just crazy the way that Joe Flacco's career continues to be revived. He looked more like Joe Cool in the Ravens days out there. And when you have targets like Jamar Chase, it makes your job that much easier. So I know Mike Tomlin had some comments before about this trade, and I actually agree with him of why would you ever trade with a divisional opponent? Why would you make this trade now to give a team the exact piece they need? But for the Bengals, they're sitting back laughing all the way because this trade was an instant win for the program.
Exactly. And also a lot of people making fun of the Browns now, being like, what are